welcome to the playoff edition of the Evening 500 podcast. Welcome to the playoffs, Ryan and the Montreal Canadiens. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing great. The playoffs haven't started yet. Everything is possible, right?
Well, it started for some teams, including my
That's
Leafs,
true. That's true.
but
Well, we'll get to the
welcome.
Leafs in
But
a
I want to
second.
say welcome to the playoffs, the Montreal Canadiens. Haven't been there for a few years. Good
Thank you.
job. I
Thank you.
I think we were all sweating it out with you there
Oh
last
my
week.
God.
Thank God the Canes didn't dress half their team on
Yeah, no
Wednesday
kidding.
night.
No kidding. I don't understand the Canadians the last week of the season. It was like a lot of just sort of hope and pray type plays, especially through the neutral zone. They weren't getting any speed going. They weren't playing their game until the breath of fresh air arrived.
What was
Uh,
that? Look at that. Scores his first goal, gets his first point on the first game. Like, talk about that. Like, did you for like this is a little bit of reminiscence of Nyes coming in a couple of years ago for their, winning the or losing in the college Frozen Four final and then coming into the Leafs. Now you guys got Demidov coming in from his KHL team.
Yeah, and he come in under playoff performance pressure kind of situation in Montreal. Apparently, the second they announced that his number was going to be 93 on the team because Oliver Kapanen wears 91, the Canadians sold $250,000 worth of his jerseys in 2 days before the
Amazing,
game on
amazing.
Monday.
And
I
then
mean,
lived up to the hype
and
completely.
then he lived up to the hype. I mean, it's a fantastic story. If he manages to perform in the playoffs, kind of like the way Cole Caulfield did in the playoffs when he was a rookie and they went to the final in front of nobody. Um, the Bell Center for Game 3 is going to be an absolute madhouse. There's no playoff venue like it in hockey, or maybe possibly any other sport except maybe Old Trafford. The Bell. I mean, it's not the Forum because it's bigger and it takes a little bit more to fill that place up with noise, but uh, it's going to be a crazy, crazy
All
atmosphere.
right, I'll give you.
Absolutely bonkers.
I'll give you. Look at now the gloves have come off here a little bit. Now we're in the playoffs, so I'm gonna have to beat you up over that one a little bit. Obviously, Montreal and the history and the old form, and today great atmosphere. Chicago, like not that Chicago's making playoffs, but Chicago. I've been in Chicago for playoff games. It's amazing. I've been in
Have you been?
Boston
Have you
for
been?
playoffs games. It's
I've been.
amazing.
It is amazing. There's no place like
Yeah,
Montreal for a
yeah,
playoff game.
yeah, yeah.
There's
Well,
no
it's a
play.
little bias in that, but yes, I get that.
I've been to playoff games in other cities as well, and nothing will beat Montreal. And
You were
maybe
pretty jacked up about the game in Vegas when Montreal played Vegas in the final when you went to
I
the
was pretty jacked. You know what? That's a really good venue as well for noise. The ones that I want to see now that I've been to Vegas, although it's not so much hockey related as much as it is like that's just the show of everything, and they get into the game. But
yeah.
um, I want to go to Nashville. I'd love to see a playoff game in Nashville.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
They've got to make the playoffs, of course, before that can happen. But
Not gonna happen for a
apparently,
while, I don't think.
yeah, apparently that place is an utter zoo.
Yeah.
And when it happens, I would like to see a playoff environment in Seattle because that team can really get
Yeah, I think that'd be cool
behind
too.
its.
And I
They
think the
can
new
get,
Utah team will have a great playoff atmosphere as well. I think that'll
yeah,
be fun.
yeah. What would have been really great is if somehow Arizona would have made the playoffs last year and the atmosphere instead, playoff atmosphere
Yeah,
inside a 5,000 seat arena would have
that would have
been
been impressive.
that would have been pretty bonkers.
Yeah, that'd been
Pretty
cool. That'd
bonkers.
been cool.
Anyway, so
But
the Canadians are in. I don't expect them to go very far.
oh, don't
Um,
don't do that self-deprecating crap with me
you
now.
didn't let
We're
me
in the
finish my
playoffs now.
sentence.
We're in
You
the
didn't let me
playoffs
finish
now.
my sentence. I don't think they're going to go very far, but the fact that they made it when at the beginning of the season I said they were a 500 team ahead of schedule, we'll take it, right? I'm totally fine with that. It I cannot complain. They could get swept, and I won't be
What did
upset at all. It's house money.
what did I send? I sent you something a couple days ago where somebody had them going to the Eastern
It was
Final.
the EA NHL to 2025 simulation. I guess
Yeah,
they
yeah.
run
Well, they had
simulations
the
of the
Leafs winning the
playoffs.
cup. They had Montreal going to the semifinal, and they had the Leafs beating, I think it was Avs in the final.
So
But
that tells you everything you need to know about how good AI is, because neither of those things is happening.
you know what would be beautiful? And I look at it, it's a long way to go here. We've only had one game. Well, how cool would it be this year of all years, Jets Leafs final or Jets Habs like an all Canadian final would be really cool. That would
It
be
would be.
so
I
fun.
think the best one would be for Rogers anyway. I think ESPN and ABC and TNT would be
Oh, they'd be
absolutely pissed. But if it was
absolutely.
Edmonton and Toronto in the final,
That would be
it would
amazing.
be, yeah, it would be
It'd
an
be amazing.
absolutely. You got McDavid and the Leafs in the final. McDavid versus Matthews.
Yeah, it'd be cool. But hey, look at it. First, we're in the playoffs now. This is the best
Okay,
time of the year.
so let's talk about the most boring topic in the world, which is the Leafs winning their first game against Ottawa 6-2, and a game ended just a little bit ago.
Yep,
I
yep.
texted you saying you have nothing to complain about.
Oh, I
Morgan
got a few
Riley
things to
scored.
complain about.
Robertson had it. Like, what are you going to complain? You can pick
I,
all the nits you want, but you
I
can't complain.
look at. They won. Great start coming out of the gates. They needed a good effort. They needed to come out strong, and they did. First period, back on their heels a little bit. Stolhart's played well. Glad to see him in the net. Hopefully his knee is okay. He got banged up there in the third period a little bit against the post on that drive by Greg. Was it Greg?
Read the Greg, yeah.
Really, Greg. So hopefully he's okay for game two. He looked like he was okay, jumped back up. But I'd like to see them clean up their defensive zone a little bit. They got pinned in a little bit too much. Riley gave away the puck in I think it was the second period on that power play, gave up the breakaway. Again, Stolhart's bailed them out. I'd like to see Robertson not be in the fucking lineup to begin with. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I'm hoping Patch already is healthy so he can go in and they can get rid
Good
of
old
Robertson out of the
67
lineup.
back in the lineup. Let's see it.
But no, I'd love to see Robertson out of the lineup. I think he's useless. And there at the end of the game, he got a run over. He's just terrible at hockey. I can't stand watching him play hockey, but it doesn't
You
matter. You
ha-
know what? We won the game. Four of the big five scored goals, which is great.
Yep.
The only one that didn't score was Matthews. The rest of them all scored. So look,
You
there's
got
not a lot to
more
complain.
importantly, you got two goals from defensemen.
Yes, the first one, great setup, and hey, lo and behold, all of a sudden, Lawton showed up, and with that great feed to OEL to first start the game, that was fantastic. So it was good to see him step up, and you're right,
Yeah.
secondary scoring out of two of the defensemen, and then four of the big five scoring, which was key. And Ottawa looked undisciplined. They looked like they were trying to take the body and be aggressive, and I think they went too far, which is fine. Let them do that. Let them do that. And I
Yeah.
think before this series is over, if the Leafs win tomorrow or Tuesday night and go up 2-0, I think in Ottawa you see Ryan Reeves go into the lineup for some
Pushback.
pushback because I think obviously game one in Ottawa, that fan base is going to be electric because it's the first time in the playoffs for a while, first time for um Dummy to be in the playoffs, Kachuk. So they're going to come out aggressively in their own building. I
But
think
what do
you
you need
see
Reeves for?
Reeves and I think you just have
What do
him
you need him
there.
for?
I think he just sits on the bench. Well, who cares? Like what did Robertson do anything? You put Reeves in there and he's just a little there just in case.
But I
Just in
think
case. Run
you've got
around.
enough guys on this team that can take care of business. Brandon
Uh,
Carlo is there.
yeah,
You've
yeah,
got
I know, but I think you put him in the lineup, let him be the sheriff. You don't let the
in
other
the
guys that
playoffs
don't need to
even.
be it. I don't care. I think that's why look at there was some article saying that people were surprised that he got called up from the playoffs. They literally said it at the deadline that was going to happen. He's not gone. He's coming back for the playoffs. They actually said it at the deadline when they put him
I don't
down because
see
of.
any need for have a guy like that in your
I
lineup
think they go
anymore.
up
But
2-0, 3-0. He goes in to be the referee. And look, because if someone's going to get kicked out, let him be the one that gets kicked out. Let him be the one that gets suspended. If
right.
something goes wrong, it's nice to know that he's sitting there, that he can go and take care of business.
With
It doesn't
their
matter.
with their
We
history
won
of
the game.
blowing playoff leads, I
Yes.
don't put Reeves in the lineup if they are up 3-0
I
and they
do.
are up 5-0 going into the third period of game four. I
I
don't
do.
let him touch the ice.
I put them in if they're up 2-0 after Toronto. I think if Pacioretty can't go, I think you put him in. I think you need to have
All
something
right,
to go to.
so but let's say game one, Mitch Marner has his goal. He's showed up for the playoffs.
Let's see. So far, so
This could
good.
be very different
Let's
year.
see. Now, look at it. It's game one. Let's not start planning the parade quite yet. So it's
Well,
game.
this is my way of ratcheting the diving
Let-
board that much higher and higher and higher.
I'm not
So
taking the
when the
bait.
inevitable
I'm
happens,
not
it's a
taking the
long way
bait.
down to the pool.
I'm not taking the bait. Too long, too far of a series to go. We're playing Ottawa that's beaten us 3 times this year. It was good to see pushback. Good to see that we won. We needed to win game one to expel, that's a bad word, to rid ourselves of the demon,
Exercise those
exercise
demons.
those demons from the regular season. So good to see it. And I'm worried that this series, I hope the Leafs win in 5 or 6 because if it goes 7, I'm worried about it. I don't, hopefully it doesn't go that far, but good start. Look at good start. So let's move on from the Leafs because I think we can't talk much more about it.
No, I want to pump
Good
their
solid
tires a
start.
little bit more. I want to create
You being
expectations.
self-deprecating on your abs.
I want to create
So
all sorts of expectation. I think the Leafs after game one, the Leafs odds of winning the Stanley Cup probably dropped.
there's people planning the parade, I'm sure already. I'm not one of them. I'm a realist. I'm one of the realist fans. I
Uh-huh.
can't get him. I've been disappointed way too long by this team. So let's pump the brakes on the parade piece
Where
here
would the
with game
parade be?
one.
Young Street?
I'm not going there.
You're
Not
not going
going there.
there. I think it'd
Not
be Young
going
Street.
there.
Should we start sweeping Young Street?
Yeah, move the bums to somewhere else because they're coming for the parade. Get those bums
Oh,
off the grate.
all right. So let's
Let's
go
go.
to
Let's go.
let's
Like
go to the
let's
rest of the playoff
Yeah,
series
let's
so
start with
far.
last night because I think yesterday was a good start to the playoffs. Was it just me or the Jets look a little nervous after the last few years? They came out a little bit nervous in that series and
They
squeaked
did, but
by.
they
Oh,
struck back quickly.
yes, yes. Well,
Like
that
they
power
could have
play.
they could have ended up in deep doo doo,
Yes.
having given up the first goal, given all the pressure on them at home and stuff. And they answered right back, and they answered back a couple of times. And then Kyle Connor's one timer to rip
Oh,
to win the game. I mean, that was in the net before like he really came off of his stick. It was a bullet. So good for them.
yeah. But needing the
There's so
late.
much talk about if they lose this series, the future of hockey in Winnipeg may not be assured. Like they put all sorts of drama around this series that I'm not sure is
Well,
warranted. The poor guys, man, let them go play hockey.
like I think other than the Leafs in this playoffs, the Jets and the Oilers have so much pressure on them. I think Canadian teams in general do just because we haven't had the cup in a long time back in
Canadians have
Canada.
no pressure.
No, they have no pressure, which is great. But that's what I'm saying. I think the Canadian teams have a lot more pressure because the cup hasn't been here, and we have 2 or 3 teams in this playoffs that could win the cup, in terms of being there. Edmonton got so
Yeah.
close last year. The Jets have so much promise after last year. Hellebuck and the Jets have had playoff disappointments over the last few years. I think this team went in the playoffs, and I gotta say, they looked a little bit like the Leafs the last few years of looking nervous in game one. But you're right, they
Hmm.
struck back, and that power play, like that's what got it back, right? They gave up that early goal and then came back on the power play and scored, and then that series could get ugly before then. That last minute of play, I don't know if you saw that game, but that last minute of the game in Jets in Winnipeg got ugly, like people going at each other. So I think that series is going to pick up the tension, and it's going to be a strong series, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Two
But
pretty good sized teams. I mean, they
yeah,
could get after each other
yeah,
for sure.
absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
Dallas and Colorado got off to a start.
Yeah, it's the Mikko Rantanen versus his old team, and look at I 5-1. We talked about it before we came on air. That 5-1 final score, it was not a true depiction of that game. It was so much closer than that.
It was
You
super
know,
close game. Although you mentioned Rantanen in one of the articles I read about the game had a really great word to describe his performance, which was pedestrian. Like he wasn't particularly invisible, but
no.
he wasn't visible. He wasn't dangerous. He wasn't Miko
It
Rantanen.
almost
I'm
looked a
not.
little bit like he was playing against a team that knew him really well and they knew how to play against him. Right?
Maybe.
So he's got neutralized a little bit. But how about that first goal by Lehkonen? Like
Yeah.
that
That's.
that
You don't see that every
I know
day.
they went and looked at it, but if they had called that goal back and called it for kicking the puck in when he was
Right.
being dumped to the ice and it
Mugged.
hit his skate, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they're even looking at this. But I guess they had to. But it's playoffs,
We're
so everything.
disallowing this goal
Yeah.
because you were trying not to die on the ice.
Yeah. But McKinnon looked good, Blackwood looked good, but we've said it again. This team in Colorado has a chance to go all the way. Again, goaltending will be a big part of
Depends
it.
on their goaltending.
And Blackwood played well in the first game. It was very even, 24 shots each, back and forth. Again, high speed, but it also showed Dallas missing two very key players in Heskinen
Very key
and
players.
Robertson. Like that,
Robertson's important, but Haskinen is vital.
yeah, absolutely.
He
Absolutely.
controls the movement of their play.
Absolutely. We all thought, with what's his name coming back for the playoffs from Dallas. Oh, how bad is that? A young kid that was supposed to be a Toronto Maple Leaf and got traded. Um,
I'm just going to let you hear and stew on it.
you know who I'm talking about, so you just
Maybe.
letting me do it. Do I have to go back into my notes? Um, don't let me do this. This is just making me
No,
look
this is
bad.
fun.
No, this is just making me look bad. Um,
Does
you're
his name
just
start with a C?
yeah. Um, yes. What am I looking for? I'm
Do
looking
both
for
of his names start with a C?
Tyler Seguin. No, it's Tyler
Oh,
Seguin coming
oh, then you're
back.
talking about Cody Ceci.
Ah, Cody Seager. Does he play on this? Is he in this
Yeah,
series?
he was one of the him and Granlund. No, but hey,
But getting Tyler Sagan back, and look at and the Colorado has a chance to bring their captain back, Landeskog, and he's just sitting
no,
there
I can't
healthy.
wait.
So
I can't wait till he comes back. I hope it's for game two.
I no, I think if they're going to bring him back, they bring him back in game three at home, and
And get the big ovation.
absolutely, I think
All
that's where
right.
you bring him back. You bring him back in game three or four,
I think you bring
and
him back as soon as he's ready to skate.
right.
He's your
Oh, it
captain.
sounds like he's ready to go, but
Yeah.
um,
But
we'll
what
see.
about okay, so that's going to be a fantastic series. It's a really close game. The
Yeah,
score like just was to be expected, right? It was going to be
absolutely.
that's the series of the first round. Let's go to the crappiest series of the first round,
Oh,
which is the Carolina Hurricanes against the New Jersey Pee Wee All Stars. Um,
it was ugly
I,
from the moment the puck dropped.
it, I thought for the third period they were going to toss their sticks into center ice and pick up for to switch teams up.
Can we switch goaltenders for the third period, please? But Markstrom was the only good thing about New Jersey in this game. Like their own, and I think I said this to you in a text earlier today. Markstrom's going to have to stand on his head for them to win a game, let alone win the series. And it did
Yeah, they
look like
didn't.
a little bit today, like he was going to steal a game from this game today, but thankfully the Hurricanes plotted a couple against them, but it was ugly. Looks good
They
on Keith.
it's keep hockey, baby.
Keith Hoggy. Lots of bark and no bite in the playoffs.
Oh wow. There's just no real pushback there. Defensively, they look like Swiss cheese.
Oh, terrible.
Um, yeah,
Terrible.
yeah.
But I think the strong point of this team, as we said, Markstrom played great. Like the fact that
Markstrom
it was
played great,
the
but it
that fact that it was only 4-1 was incredible because they were being outshot after the second period. I think something like 30-12. It was
yeah.
terrible.
Well, look, Carolina makes its living off of forechecking,
Right.
right? Like they come in hard and fast and they come in waves and they don't let you get out of your zone and then they turn that stuff into opportunities better than probably any other team in the league.
Yeah.
That I mean that the way they play is what Berube wants the Leafs to do,
Right. And I think that's
just with more skill.
but I think you saw the
And
difference between the Leafs of old, which New Jersey looked like today, and the Leafs of tonight, much different looking team.
yeah,
Yes, they got outshot at times, they got outshot for the game, but there was much more aggression, many more puck battle wins, much more pushback, much
and
more
that's what
grit.
Carolina does.
Right, right. And that's
And
I
that
think Berube knows that.
yeah, and that's what Carolina does, and that's what New Jersey knows is coming at them, and they had no answer for it.
But that's key.
Like usually a team in the playoffs that has an identity like that, the other team is going to find a way to make you play a different style of game to win. And New Jersey, for all of the skill they have up front, and um, they weren't able to do any of that.
No, they tried to play regular season hockey in the playoffs. Uh,
Yeah, they could
But
play. They tried to play a possession game that got them
right.
nowhere.
But I put that on the coach. They know they can't play that way, and the coach has to prepare them. And I think
Yeah,
that's the big difference. And I look at Keith did a great job at the beginning of Toronto, but I said you and I had many talks about this. My frustration at the end was that their game in the playoffs didn't change from the regular season, and it wasn't going to work, and it didn't work, and we saw it. Tonight, it's game one. It's one game of to use as a reference, but the team looked different. That's what I'm excited about. Forget the game one win, but the team looked different tonight. And then you looked up and watched that New Jersey game. That team looked the same as they did in the regular season, and Carolina was playing a different hockey game, and they looked
yeah,
terrible. And that's on
yeah.
the
They
I put
did.
that on the coach.
Yeah, yeah.
So sorry.
No
Okay,
question.
let's move on because there's lots of great
Okay.
hockey to play. We're missing right now a game going on. There is no score in Minnesota Knights, and that's going to be a boring series as far as I'm concerned. Who cares?
So I was in Las Vegas yesterday, and
Yeah,
I saw lots of Knights jerseys around town.
their team is like you can't argue about what they're doing in that city around hockey, the football team, and now did you see the renderings? I should have sent it to you. The renderings of the new proposed baseball stadium for
Hope
Oakland.
it's roofed.
Oh, it's roof, but it's glass and it looks right into the strip. It looked
Oh,
incredible.
cool.
Yeah, so it looks incredible. But who gives a shit about baseball? Hockey. So tomorrow night, your Habs get it started.
Yep.
What are you looking forward to? Give me a few sound bites of tomorrow night and how you're looking forward to, and what do you think the keys are for the team?
So at some point for the Canadians to win, you're going to have to hear at some point the commentators saying they're playing a perfect road game because that's how they're going to beat Washington. Washington scored what the second most goals in the league yeah, over the course of the season, or was that Tampa? I can't
Doesn't
remember.
matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They were a big offensive
They're
team, and they've
definitely up
got
there.
and they're going to have to challenge Logan Thompson early, see how he's feeling, put a couple by him. So if the Canadians get out to a lead and play their style of hockey and can bring it for 60 minutes, they've got a chance.
Right.
What I worry about is that the size of Tom Wilson and Alexi Protas, although it's not clear that he's playing, he's battled some injuries, but they've got some size in the front end and the back end that can make the Canadians' lives miserable and not give them the space to move out of their zone with pressure. Like when the Canadians start fumbling around a forecheck, they cannot, they can't do it.
Right.
They can't win.
Yeah, I think they need to get off
So
a strong start. Like that, the last couple of weeks of the season, I watched a bit of the Habs and we were going back and forth. It was their
their starts were
starts
terrible.
were terrible, and they need to get off to a better start because I think that's a big difference. You know, they had a lot of comeback wins this year and a lot of comebacks late. That's harder to do in the playoffs. We've talked about this, defense wins hockey. So
Yeah.
my problem is, other than Logan Thompson, can Washington play defensive hockey? You know, they got run and gun type team. I know
Yeah,
they got big guys and stuff, but can they play a defensive style hockey? Is this going
I
to
th-
be the
I
Ovechkin
think
show, or is this going to be
no, I think John Carlson um and and has had the kind of, you know, bounce back season where he's played great offensively and defensively. Um I think Jacob Chikrin has surprised everybody and
yeah,
their brother about how he has rebounded from what was assumed to be just a slowly declining career. As much as I've talked smack about Pierre-Luc Dubois, he's playing a
showed up
two-way
this year?
game.
Yeah, he showed up this year.
He's using his size on both sides of the ice, and um, they're going to be a really tough out, and they've got a lot more playoff experience than the
Oh,
Canadians
no
do.
question.
But the here's what I think would have to happen. You need over the course of the series. I was talking about the game one, but over the course of the series, I think you need almost a repeat of what happened in 2010 or 2011 when Halak stole the series.
Yeah,
I think you need Montembeault to get really hot in game one and put a little doubt in Washington's heads. and having them shooting for corners a little bit more rather than just confidently shooting pucks on the net, just getting into their heads a little bit because they are the number one seed on the East. And when you can put doubt in the minds of a team like that, especially a team that kind of put it in cruise control for the entire last month of the season,
Mhm.
that's when you're dangerous.
And we talked about this early on, I think, to that exact point that Washington did go into cruise control the last 2 weeks of the season. Is that going to come back to bite them with a young, hungry, fast, energetic team that Montreal can play fast, energetic, young, enthusiastic hockey? Will they be able to gear it back up for the playoffs? We've seen so many teams I would say back their way into the playoffs, shut it down too early and then trying to rev it back up. That's not easy to do. And I'm worried about
Yeah.
that. We talked about that a few weeks ago, and I'm worried that you might have got the lottery win by playing Washington because they've had so much hype this year about Ovechkin getting the record. He got the record, then he tied Howe for the most goals in a season by a 39-year-old plus, which clap on both those things. Just incredible
Yeah.
season for him. And did that now sort of wash over their season? Are they going to use that as an energetic thing to push them into the playoffs? I don't know, but they didn't exactly go into the playoffs on a high note,
Well,
other than
I still
Ovechkin's
think they
goals.
win this series in 5 games.
You think five? I think this. If the Habs win, it goes seven. But I agree. I was thinking six. But if the Habs win this season, it goes seven.
Yeah. There's
And
no
it
way
goes
they're gonna.
seven. Yeah. So it is going to be. It could be a fun series, but
I'll tell you what, if it does go seven, I would bet on Montreal to win.
right.
I think Montreal would take a game seven in Washington against a very nervous team.
Absolutely. That's why I said, that's what I've said about Toronto, right? That's the same thing. If it goes seven, I worry that Ottawa and Toronto gets the nerves. Toronto needs to win their series in five or six. I think it's the same thing for
Yeah.
Washington because if it goes seven, I'm taking the Habs as well.
Yeah. And then finally, your home state matchup, Florida and Tampa Bay. Uh,
It's going to be a wild series. I'm interested to see if Kachuk plays, how they do without Ekblad. Um, you know what? That series could be a real toss-up. It's going to be goaltending. Both teams got great goaltending. It could come down to a healthy, great defensive team in Florida versus a high octane offense in Tampa Bay. Because we've talked about this before. That Tampa Bay defense outside of Hedman does not scare anybody.
it's not scaring anybody, but
They got to be able to
Vasilevsky
score.
is playing like Vasilevsky. We
Yes.
don't know how Bob is going to play. I don't think the Florida defense is that great once you've got Jones playing very well. We don't know how Ekblad's going to play. He wasn't, he's not at
But he's a
the peak of his
Swede, so
powers
who
anyway.
cares, right?
Okay. Okay.
It's the playoffs now. The gloves are off. I'm telling you.
Yeah, the gloves are off.
I got my
Okay.
playoff beard going. I'm good. Got to catch up with you there a little bit.
I know. Well, I'm feeling a little scruffy myself. Yeah, I think this is going to be a test of whether, first of all, whether or not Tampa takes the bait, right? When you got Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand, and Matthew Kachuk all jawing at you for 60 minutes every night, like
For
can you
someone
just
not to
tune
take a
that out?
swing at them is going to be incredible. Look, as a Leaf fan, I want this series to go seven, and I want it to be an absolute dog eat dog, drag them out, punch them out.
You want to see a bloodbath?
I want to see a bloodbath. I'd like to see six of the seven games go to overtime. I'd like to see these two teams just beat the absolute hell out of each other. And the last time they played each other in the playoffs in the first round, it was that. So, and I'd like to see it again.
Okay, even if it's Ottawa that's playing them next.
It doesn't matter. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. If the
Now
Leafs
I've
are
got
going
you
to,
talk. I'm talking to you. I'm getting you. I'm talking you into the
I
confidence
know
now.
I'm
This is
not doing
great.
it. I'm
It
not
took me
doing
a
it.
while
I'm
to
not
rope
doing
you into it.
it. It wasn't doing it. I look at it. It doesn't matter. The if the Leafs win this series, I want to see that series go seven games. I'd like to see that series go seven games because I'd like to see the two of them beat the crap out of each other because I'd like to see Florida lose. But it doesn't matter. I think that
Right.
these two teams going to beat the crap out of each other for seven games. That would be just wonderful to see. We'll see. Because whoever plays
We'll
them
see.
next, hopefully they get it. And then we got our Oilers versus the Kings. Reverse of last year, obviously, fourth year in a row. This time starting
Yeah.
in LA. As much as we both picked Oilers to win the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's gonna be a dogfight to get. They got to win this series in six before it goes back to LA for game seven.
They have to win. I think they have to win one of the first two in
Yeah.
LA. Because
Yeah.
if LA continues to show that they're unbeatable at home, that'll get into the Oilers' heads a little bit.
Yeah. The Oilers
And
did a lot of rest. Yeah. Sorry.
without
Without
a,
Ekholm, that hurts.
yeah, I mean Bouchard, all-star guy, 80, 90 point defensive player, absolute master. But in terms of who you want on the ice in the last 2 minutes protecting the lead, it's Ekholm, and he's not
No.
around.
No. And that's I think that's the death nail. I think that's the one that hurts.
Yeah.
Right. So I that's going to be a struggle. I'm calling the Kings in five,
The
unfortunately.
King, wow.
Kings in
Wow.
five.
I think it'll go seven. Because I think Edmonton takes care of business at home. This could be just a home winning series.
It could be.
What I'm interested to see in this series is, can Quentin Byfield become a playoff beast?
Yeah.
Can he be? Can he be like a Ryan O'Reilly? Can he be, a Ryan Getzlaf, like, big center
Yeah.
who can do a lot of damage around the ice and then still score goals and
Right. You
set
need these
people up.
young stars to show their colors. He's one of them. You actually mentioned this a few weeks ago. You need Nyes to be that for the Leafs. That's why I'm saying big five. Everybody calls it the big four. You got to add him to the mix, and it's the big five. And
Yeah,
you need him to do it. And he played well tonight. And
yeah. It's a little different for Nice because he's a winger. Like
yeah, but he
Quentin
can still
Byfield.
take the body. He can be that
Yeah,
guy that can play a body on body and dig the puck
yeah,
out for the other two. And I think Byfield the same way. I think yes, he's the center, but you need him to step up and be the man.
yeah. I'm looking forward to it this series for two reasons. Number one, it's a local team. It's LA, and it's against Edmonton, who I had as my. I'm just happy to have a great series to watch in my own damn time zone because it's not always easy watching hockey at
No,
4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll tell
yeah,
you that
no,
much,
absolutely. Well,
or at least not paying attention to it fully.
absolutely. You got
Um,
the computer on over here while you're doing your work, and you're very good at what you do. So I'll give you the kudos there.
so
We've done battles before, so we'll see, but it's all good.
yeah, so we have one last topic to cover before we
Well, we
sign
have
off because
two,
we're
but I
running out
know
of
where you're
time.
going now. We have two, but you go
We
with
have
yours, and
two.
I'll go with mine.
Okay, my topic for you is on a scale of let's not call it on a scale, on a percentage basis. What percentage of enjoyment is cut from your experience of watching the Leafs win 6-2 with John Buccigross doing the
Oh,
play-by-play commentary?
shit. I knew you were going to go there. Look at that's the biggest problem I've got with this series is this series ending up on
Yeah,
ESPN.
ESPN.
How, excuse my language, bad was that broadcast?
He is
From
so bad.
before we go to Butchergrass, let's talk about I love Levy. Levy's good, but then he's
Yep.
sitting in a studio with PK Subban and Mark Messier. And look, I'm not the greatest with the English language, but Jesus Christ, can Mark Messier get a sentence out without putting me to sleep, or just get a sentence out? And then you got PK Subban, who might be, as I said this before, a worse broadcaster than he was a hockey player, and he was a pretty bad hockey player as far as I'm concerned, overrated hockey player. But it's so terrible. And then the broadcast, I think the broadcast audio was so bad that I think I texted you early in the game going, "Are they calling this game off tube?" Because you couldn't hear anything of the background sound. All you could hear was Butchergrass and Weeks, who are a terrible twosome. Butchergrass might be the worst play-by-play hockey announcer in the history of the hockey broadcasting. And it was so freaking bad. It wasn't proud. Then in the first intermission, they showed them with the crowd in the background, like they were up in the gondola, um, just to prove that they were at the arena.
At
And
the
then,
arena.
as far as I'm concerned, then whoever's doing audio for that game should be
Stanked
fired.
it.
ESPN, step up your game. You are looking terrible. And I've said this
Especially they paid so
before.
much money for these rights.
Absolutely. And TNT has made them look so bad.
Yeah.
TNT has done an awesome job. Kudos to TNT. I have nothing bad to say about TNT until I watched the ESPN broadcast, and they're pathetic.
It's pretty bad.
Pathetic. And they're
It.
going to do the Winnipeg series as well, Weeks and
Oof.
Buchagras. Oh, so bad. Let
Oh,
me
but hang
watch
on a
the
second.
Canadian
I don't
broadcast.
mind. I want to stop you right there. I
I
don't mind Kevin Weeks.
I
I
think
love
he
Weeksy.
sounds
I think,
yeah, he's not bad, but he's when he's with Butchergrass, he just comes across terrible because Butchergrass is that bad, makes him look bad.
and by the way, back to Buccigross, it breaks my heart to say it. All of the things that we're saying, like I don't say this stuff maliciously because I don't like him as a person.
I
John
don't know him. I don't know
Buccigross,
him.
John Buch, I don't know him as a person either, but John Buccigross is two things. Number one, he's like a man of great conscience and passion, and he believes in great causes and does wonderful things.
And he
He's
loves the game of
also,
hockey.
and he's a huge hockey fan.
Yes,
He makes it part of his family life. He makes it public. He supports the game and sells the game as well and as passionately as anybody in the United States. But
100%
he
agree.
is the worst play-by-play announcer I've ever heard.
But they shouldn't put him in a booth. Uh, Leave him in the studio. I don't love him in
He's
the
pretty good
studio
in the
either.
studio. I don't mind him in the studio at all, but he
But
cannot call a game.
can't call a game. Just get him out of the broadcast booth. He's terrible.
Yeah.
And that's not where I thought you were going. Thank you for getting my blood pressure level up. That's not where I thought you were
Oh,
going.
where'd you think I was
I
going?
thought you were going to talking about a non-playoff topic, which was the Rangers finally doing what everybody knew they were going to do at the end of the
Oh,
season
right.
and firing Laviolette.
Yeah.
My
Well,
only question to that was,
where's Drury?
why did they allow Drury to do that, and why weren't they showing both of them the door?
Yeah.
Like, oh
Yeah.
my God.
Once they're
Like,
pulling out the file boxes to fill up with personal effects, they might as well get two of
well, especially with the player comments at the end of the season going into the last few games were like they all but said we don't want to play for Drury again. That was just
Yeah, well,
brutal how we're
especially
being
the
treated and this
Calvin
Calvin
DeHaan
Dahan.
comments, and then how he pathetically tried to walk them back. But it was honestly, it should have happened in November, but
But if he's
we'll see
there,
what they do. See what their
I
direction is
I
now.
just can't believe if they leave Drury, then they deserve all the whatever that comes to them because they just the team's not going to want to play for them. And don't care
Yeah,
who's behind the bench at this point. Team ain't going to want to play for Drury. Drury's going to have to go at some point. But that's
yeah, I
not
think
where
you're
I
right.
wanted to go. But I think we needed to talk about that. What I want
Yeah.
to talk about, Leafs and the Habs are in the playoffs. What's the bet? We got to have a bet. Who goes
All right.
further? Who has the most games? What if they don't meet? They're unfortunately, if they're going to meet, they have to meet in the Eastern Conference Final. I don't think that's going to happen, but
Yeah.
it would happen. How
I'll
cool would
tell you
it
what.
be if it
Okay,
did
so you've
happen?
set
But
this up. You've set this up for me to think about, and we will talk during the week, and we will announce on our next episode what the bet is going to be.
he's
It's going to
awesome.
be a little bit weird because both teams will be like 3 games into it.
Yes. Well,
But
slow down.
we will find something that we can bet on and have appropriate odds that we will agree on
Appropriate. Oh, he's putting odds
because
on.
one of them is a 2 seed and the other one is a 0 seed.
Yeah. Hey, they
So
made the playoffs. They're in there. They did
they
well.
made the playoffs. So I'm proud of them for doing that, but I'm not going to throw my money after it because we've got some weird even up bet that's not an even up bet by any stretch of the imagination.
Uh,
So we'll think about it. I'll come up with something and we'll
Okay.
agree on it, and then report it
Okay.
next week.
It could be just something as fun as I have to wear your jersey if they win. You got to
Now
wear
I know
my
what you want. You want your
jersey.
$100 bill back,
You know
but
what? Forget the $100 bill. Let's do something that could be a little more fun. As long as it's not, look,
okay.
I don't have a lot of hair, but not shaving the head, not doing any of that crap.
No, no,
And
I'm not shaving my locks.
maybe it's, at least yours will grow back. But, um, but let's do something fun and good first weekend of the playoffs. Looking forward to watching your Habs tomorrow night.
Thank you, sir.
Um, and then I'd love them to beat Washington because I'd love to see a Leafs Habs Eastern Final. How cool would that be?
It would be unreal.
Yeah. And if
Unreal.
that happens, what it is that we're going to all four games, and what that's going to happen.
Yeah, who's paying for that?
Well, you are, but that doesn't matter. Like I'll worry about getting the tickets because of my friends at MLSE, but you just got to get your ass to Toronto and
I
go
just got to get on a plane. Okay.
to
And
Hey,
by the way,
great
I
for
like the way you
seeing.
said, by the way, don't think it didn't slip by me that you said we'll go to all 4 games. Like it's going to be a sweep.
Just saying.
Well done.
Yeah. All
Well
righty.
done.
You have a good weekend. Good luck tomorrow night, and look forward to chatting you during the game tomorrow night. And we'll do this again next weekend. The Leafs hopefully will have won that series. Hopefully the Habs are on their way, and we'll go from there.
All right.
Have a
All
good
right.
week. Have a good night
You too.
tomorrow.
Happy playoffs, everyone.
Okay, you too.
All right. Bye.